excitement about HLG HDR is mainly because it's allowing me to use black frame insertion, Motion Pro, and that's the way I play. No matter how good the HDR is, even on Elden Ring, which is amazing, I still use HLG dynamic tone mapping on and black frame insertion. I can't stand sample and hold blurriness because I'm used to the plasma and the CRT. But if you are watching my content about HDR comparisons and HDR10 comparison with HLG HDR dynamic tone mapping off, you have to understand how relevant that is to you if you have a PS5 or an Xbox. And I'm gonna be very careful from now on because I just realized that all the games that are relying on Windows or on the system level calibration, they just don't work on PC. And they cannot work. And the reason is the drivers for this display, for this LG TV, are not being recognized as a monitor. So let me show you. We go on the PC, we go to the device manager, and under display and under monitors, it says generic PNP monitor. So what that means, what Windows does is this. Windows recognizes the monitor that you are connecting to the computer, and it's going to download drivers, and those drivers are going to tell Windows and are going to set up everything that is going to respond to the specs of the monitor. So if the monitor can do 1000 nits, Windows knows, okay, this is an Acer Predator, blah blah blah, this is 1000 nits, or if it's 15 or 4000 nits, whatever. But if Windows doesn't recognize the display you are connecting, and on the other hand, Windows is capable of realizing, okay, this is an HDR display, we don't know what it is, we don't have drivers for it, we're just gonna say this is 4000 nits. So automatically Windows is detecting this TV. It's not detecting the TV, it's basically just associating a generic profile, a generic HDR profile. So when we come here to the HDR calibration, if we can call that, it's just an on and off toggle. So when we turn on HDR in Windows, this is just doing auto HDR. But when we go to the game does recognize that, okay, this is an HDR capable display because it's on in Windows. So you have the option on the game to turn on HDR. And I'm talking about the games that are relying on system level calibration. For example, Elden Ring, and I did a comparison about that, it doesn't care about the system. It's taking over the HDR control. And I was saying on that video, I think that's amazing. And the reason why I kind of knew that is because my suspicion was that Windows calibration was bad. There's something wrong with it, and it's not working on those games. So basically, what we have here for calibration is just this brightness slider. And on those games that are relying on system level calibration, some of them, this brightness have an effect, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It does have an effect, big time. You see the brightness is a lot more than at the beginning. But I don't know what is the system telling the display to do. Is it 4000 nits, 1000 nits? So how can you expect HGIG to work or dynamic tone mapping off? It cannot work. The only way you can get this working is dynamic tone mapping on, and then you see the colors are washed out. This looks horrible. The colors are just a mess. They are completely diluted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my research and see if there is any program that I can download on Windows to do a proper system level calibration for those HDR10s games to work properly. So right now, my recommendation is strongly, if you are playing on a PC, all those games that are relying on system level calibration, you want to use HLG HDR, period. And how do you know? It's very simple. If you are able to turn on HDR on the game, even if you have Windows HDR off, that's it. That's a good one. Like Elden Ring. It doesn't matter on Elden Ring if you have this HDR. It doesn't matter if you have this HDR. You know, Windows HD color settings, use HDR on. It doesn't matter if you have this off. You are able to turn HDR on the game. So if that's the case, that's the only games that I would suggest you to use and try HDR10. For the rest of them, it's just broken. And that's something crazy. Who are we gonna blame? Nvidia? Should Nvidia take over? Have an option to say, take over the HDR calibration and give me proper sliders so I can get a good result? I would blame Nvidia, but should we blame Windows? I know Windows 11 is coming with an update, but that's old news. That news is from February of 2022. So it's still not done yet. Or should we blame the developers of the games? Because as a developer, if you are porting the game to PC and you are aware of this situation, you should definitely take over the HDR control and give me proper sliders for PC. So on the console is working fine. You know, people were telling me on Metro Exodus, no, actually it does work great. And I believe you, because you turn on HDR on the game or on the system, and the game is using the system level calibration, which is basically the sliders for HDR to tell the game, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this 800 nits or whatever, and that's why it's working fine. But it is insane. Like the developers, they need to know that if they are porting to PC, they need to take over the HDR control. So right now, I strongly recommend you, if you are using these LG TVs for HDR gaming on PC, right now, I don't know the solution. If you know, tell me. Please, tell me the solution. But if you don't know, I strongly recommend you, don't use HDR10 in those games. Use HLG HDR. It's looking amazing. It cannot be better than a proper HDR10 game. Of course not. It cannot. But it is giving an amazing experience over SDR. And of course, if you are gonna use black frame insertion, it's the best way, period. Like there's no other way to get that level, that average brightness level on the game, to use a Motion Pro. And actually that's why I was so excited to find that, you know, with that discovery, because that's the way I'm gonna use the TV all the time. I play most games 60 or 100 hertz with black frame insertion, some of them 120. So it looks, I mean, in movement it's just so good. I cannot turn that off. But there are some games that, you know, they are static, like you don't move the camera a lot. And if the HDR10 is amazing, or even HLG HDR, I might consider one day to open it and play like that, because you know you can play one day one way and the other day. So that's what I would do. But right now, give me some time. I'm gonna do my research about it, and I'm going to continue my series of comparison with HDR10 and HLG only with the games that are taking over the HDR control. For those games that are supporting the system level calibration, that's just gonna be me telling you HDR10 is broken in Windows. Use HLG. So I'm already telling you. So I'm gonna be very careful that I make that clear on every single video, because a lot of people watching my content, they are using an Xbox or PS5. And that's why I always tell you, compare, use both, see it for yourself, and determine which one looks better to you. But for those people, that Metro Exodus video that I made is completely irrelevant. That's why I changed the title and say, hey, it's broken on PC. And at the end of those videos, I make clear, hey, let me know if that's the way it's working on consoles, because if it's, I understand that it is not the way it's working on consoles, because you have a system level calibration. So I was wondering, maybe that's what's going on here. So after doing more research, I realized, yeah, that's what's going on. And it's just crazy. LG with all these gaming features it doesn't have a driver for Windows to tell Windows what's going on and set up proper HDR settings. So let me know if you know better, if you know how to fix this mess. Tell me, I want to know. So yeah, and this YouTube channel, one of the main reasons why I opened it was to share and to learn. I learned from people, giving me good feedback, and with good intentions, telling me, hey, no brother, you're wrong, this is the way it is, and showing me. That's amazing. That's the main reason. I didn't open this YouTube channel for any other reason, just to share the information and to learn. And I think that is something great, because these companies are not telling us anything. Who is telling you? You buying a gaming computer, okay? You spending $5,000 to get this experience. Who is telling you that actually the coolest and nicest feature is not gonna work? So HDR10 is just gonna be crap on most games. Who is telling you that? They cannot tell you, because Nvidia is gonna say, no, that's not me, that's Windows. Windows is gonna say, no, that's the game. The game should take over the control. The game is telling, no, we don't have anything to do with that. On the consoles, it's just working fine. So everybody's just passing the ball, and nobody is putting the work, because these TVs are a privilege for a minority. So they are not hurrying to fix that mess. So yeah, there you go. I will do my research and see if I can find a solution for it, or you let me know.